Hi, I'm John Ray, and welcome to the Thriving Podcast. I'm your host and intuitive coach, dedicated to amplifying your intuition, transforming your mind, and igniting your inner magic to create a life you're obsessed with. 2 years ago, I was burnt out as fuck in a toxic relationship and a successful tech career that I just wasn't happy in anymore. I left it all behind with no plan, and now I'm running my own business, immersed in purpose and passion, happily married to my soulmate, and living out my dreams every single day. And if you're badass enough to be listening to this podcast, then you're already on the fast track to doing the same, babe. On this podcast, we'll dive into all things life, business, heart, mind, body, and soul, empowering you to up-level your life and embody your happiest, healthiest, and hottest self. It's time to make idealistic your new realistic, because you're not just here to survive, you're here to thrive. Hi, babes. Happy Thriving Thursday. Welcome back to the podcast. I was planning on putting out the podcast episode, the third part of the manifestation Q&A on belief and self-doubt, holding the belief and manifestation, how to balance belief and doubt, and how to rewire beliefs. It's a really good episode, but it's just not quite there yet because it's only half recorded. And I did go back to it, and I was planning to finish that episode to put out this week. I know I feel like I've been teasing this episode the past 3 episodes, and I don't mean to. I legitimately was actually I actually pulled it up, and I was like, okay, what do I have here? What do I need to add? And I really thought I was going to get it this week, but I ran out of time because I got my period over the weekend. So then that took out, or on Sunday. So basically, or Saturday, I don't remember at this point. Basically, I was super tired. Oh, no, it was Sunday. Not that it literally matters or any of you care. But basically, I do less in the first few days of my cycle. And so I wasn't really in the energy to record. And then I was pretty busy the past couple days because Hot Girl CEO Summer has officially started. So we had our Hot Girl CEO initiation call, our kickoff call, and the chat has been so active. The group has been amazing so far. Yeah, everyone is just so active and engaged. So I've just been loving and obsessing over all of them and just being in the chat, sending their trainings. And a lot of them got a one-on-one call along with the program. So I've had my calls with them and yeah, just doing a lot the past couple days. And I was like, when am I doing the podcast? So yeah, I was basically okay, I'm feeling really good. I'm in a really good energy. And everyone has literally been telling me your energy is so magnetic. And I'm like, thank you. But so I thought today, also it was really fun. I posted a poll on my stories the other day of what you guys want to see coming up on the podcast. And everything got votes, basically. So that was exciting. So we're going to have a little life update bestie chat coming up probably when I get back from vacation. And we can just kind of do a little what's been going on this month, behind the scenes, personal life, business stuff, relationship stuff. That'll be really fun. Also, I was thinking, because I'm going to be with Sindri coming up for our summer trip, how fun would it be for us to do an episode together? And our anniversary is coming up in August. I was like, maybe we can do an episode for that week to celebrate our anniversary, because I know you guys literally Sindri is such a cheat code for me, on social media. I already know if I post something with Sindri, it's going to get so much more engagement. So it's so funny. I'm I need to be strategic with when I post about you. But yeah, so I think that would be super fun. I think you guys would love that. So anyway, we're going to have that. I love that so many of you voted keep teaching me things, because honestly, that is my favorite thing. And I was are they going to get bored of me just teaching them things? But apparently not. So I'd also love to know what you guys specifically want to learn about. Not that I don't have a ton of ideas, but I love to make sure I'm really answering your questions. And then what were the other things? Oh yeah, get an epic guest. We're working on that. I feel because I haven't had a guest yet, I'm definitely going to have guests, but because I haven't had a guest yet, I'm who's going to be the first guest? Or I don't want it to be, I have to find that perfect first guest. And then what was the other thing I asked? A big manifestation story time. So I'm definitely going to make an episode of my biggest manifestation story time. I'm not going to spoil ahead of time what that is. Some of you already know it. It's one of my most epic story times. So we have a lot of episodes coming up, but basically today, I just want to do a kind of a quick little energy infusion. Basically, it's funny in Hot Girl CEO Summer, I have these daily trainings for them, right? Kind of like mini podcasts, honestly. And maybe I'll pick like my favorite one out of there and make that like a bonus mini podcast episode. But I was like, I don't know what to call these because daily training is so not the vibe of Hot Girl CEO Summer. But I was like, I don't know what like the daily vibe, like the daily something. And so we kind of started calling them the daily something somethings. Or sometimes I just call them like the daily dose, like dose of what? I don't really know. Like the daily dose of vibe. If anyone has an idea of what to call those, anything's coming to you as you're listening to this, open to ideas and suggestions. Also, I just realized I didn't test the mic before I started recording. So hopefully I don't record this full episode and then the audio is not good. We're just trusting. Universe, please come through with the audio. But anyway, yeah, so someone suggested, one of the girls in my group suggested energy infusion. So that's really what I want to do here is just like kind of tune into like what message just the collective need to hear right now. And I just got these new Oracle card decks that I'm so excited about because I love Oracle cards because I feel like they just come they're just so easy and fun, right? I have a tarot deck. I don't do tarot as much because I don't actually, the reason I like Oracle is because it's more flexible. Like you don't have to actually know the meanings of the cards. And I've been learning tarot a bit, but I mean, I'm not super into the cards. You guys know I'm not, I'm very much like, don't become dependent on the tools, but I love them as a compliment. And they're a fun way to also like hone your intuitive gifts. And one of my current goals is really developing my intuitive gifts even further. So I love playing with this. So I got these 2 new decks that really, really spoke to me and I'm obsessing over them. So I was like, let me pull a card from my Sacred Creators deck and see what you guys see what energy is in the air, what message is needing to be shared. And then I'll just kind of riff on that. So the card that I pulled is Lead Your Metamorphosis. And it has a butterfly on it. And so I won't read the whole thing from the book because I feel like that might be boring. But basically, the themes are freedom, transformation, evolution, on the edge of something miraculous, trusting cycles of death and rebirth, massive breakthrough. And the message really here is not staying small and not staying where you're comfortable and really letting yourself choose this expansion and choose this metamorphosis. And it's so funny that I pulled this card because I actually just posted a reel the other day, literally yesterday, that just dropped in for me. And I was like, I'm feeling like I really kind of want to rant about this. And I recorded this rant and I was like, is this too much? Should I post this? Is this coming off a little harsh or, And I was like, nope, you know what? Like that doubt, I would say like that. Well, I don't always say, I literally just coined this phrase yesterday. I don't know why I said I always say it, but I realized yesterday, I was like, that doubt is a green flag, right? I never put it that way before, but I love that. It's like when that voice comes up that is like, should you do this? Is this a good idea? That's the green flag. That's your green light of like, yes, you should post this, right? Because that means that you are really expressing your truth if you're having a fear around expressing it, right? So I was like, nope, that's a sign I should post this. Came to me for a reason. So I posted it. And I got so many comments right away, like lots of engagement, went over so well. And a lot of stuff a lot of positive stuff actually came out of me just simply posting that reel. And the reel, if you didn't watch it, was about basically taking control of your life and acknowledging that you are in control of your life and that you are choosing everything in your life, right? So this is so funny. Actually, this card is perfectly on point with this. Lead your metamorphosis. So again, what I talked about in the reel was I'm really kind of sick of people saying, I want this change, and then actively not doing what is required of them to make that change, right? And it's not that I'm shaming anyone for, not taking the action. I've obviously been there as well myself, and I still go in and out of it all the time. We all do. It's like a natural ebb and flow, right? In life, like we self-sabotage, we procrastinate, we put things off because change is uncomfortable. We have to push through a lot of resistance to make these changes, right? It doesn't feel safe. It feels way more comfy to just stay small and stay where we are. But my point in the reel was just acknowledge, at least own what you're choosing. Own the fact that you're not ready to make the change yet, that you are choosing to stay safe and comfortable. And what gets to me is when people don't acknowledge that, and they'll keep kind of bringing up the same thing, right? Oh, why isn't this changing? Why is this still happening? Or I really want this, and why is it? Or I saw this person got that, like, how come they could do it and I can't? And it's just like, you know why. You know why. It's not complicated. You know what you need to do. It's just, and again, we don't want to be playing the guilt game, the blame game, the shame game. We can acknowledge it's the ego in the way. It's the fear in the way. But acknowledging that you do have a choice at every step along the way. You are literally choosing every situation in your life, and you do have control. You have control to change your situation. And you can choose to make that change or to not, right? Like I talked about this in my first episode and that toxic relationship with my ex. And I had a period of time where I was like, I know that this isn't right. I don't want this, but I'm just not ready to make that decision yet because that's going to be hard. And I just don't honestly want to have to deal with that yet. Like I would rather put myself through this more comfortable discomfort than make that hard choice and go through that discomfort of growth that I know will come eventually, but I'm just not ready yet. Like, that's fine. I'm here for that. And something I really appreciated during that time was Sindri, like we were just friends at the time, obviously. He was really supportive of me during that time. I don't remember if I mentioned that on that call, but he would say like, yeah, you know, like I've been there, like you'll come to it in your own time. Like I know you will. And at least you're aware, basically. And he would like say to me, like, yeah, it's okay. Like you're aware that this is a situation and this is like where you're at and you'll get there eventually. And that was so, so powerful, especially because obviously everyone else in my life was like, oh my God, girl, dump him. Like what? You know? And like, it's like that wasn't helpful. And I try to really remember this like on the other side because I'm like, if I see, you know, like that someone I care about is in a relationship that's not serving them, you know, it's very easy for me to be like, why are we even still entertaining this? But I have to recognize like there's a reason why, because they're getting something from it. There's a part of them, obviously, like their higher self and like their soul, like they know that they don't want this, but there's a reason why, because like if every part of them was ready to make this difficult choice, like they would make it because they know it's the right thing to do. And that's where that difference between like knowing and embodying is, right? Because like there's a part of us that is not ready yet to jump on board and to commit to that hard decision. So it's not a bad thing to acknowledge that you're in that place. But it is, I mean, there's no good or bad, but it is less desirable. It's not serving you, we'll say, to be in that place and be in denial, to not acknowledge that it's in your control, to act like I don't know what I need to do, or like this is out of my control. It's so powerful to just own that choice because what's going to happen is two things. One, right, you'll have that acceptance that will support you so much more in getting to that place where you are ready to make the change and do the hard thing, like I just described with my situation. Two, simply just acknowledging that and really owning your own power is often enough to just literally shift right in the moment. As soon as you acknowledge that block and that you are standing in your own way, that can simply be enough to dissolve it. And, you know, I can give a couple examples right off the top of my head. I was talking to a client today about, you know, how she was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm talking to my therapist about how, you know, I can only control what's in my control and like how I respond to a situation. But then there are things that are out of my control. And like, that's where I'm really getting bugged. And that's like where I'm really getting tripped up. Because like these things aren't in my control. And I was like, okay, you know, like give me an example. And she's like, well, you know, like I do this, this is this. And then like this client comes and they're like, well, actually, like we completely changed our mind. This isn't what we wanted. And I'm like, well, I made it really clear to you. Like, and this is something we all go through, right? So like, thank you, beautiful anonymous client, for being my example for this. We all fall into this, right? And this is someone who is like very well aware of self-development practices. And she does a lot for herself. So that's why I think this is an important reminder, because it's so easy to just, those blinders pop up and we don't even realize it happened. We don't consciously put the blinders up, And so it was interesting because we dug into a little bit and I was like, okay, so then what happens when the client comes back and said that, right? Like how do you react? What's your response? Like, how do you feel when that happens? And she's like, well, I start to panic and then I start to worry, like they're going to blame me. And, then what if my boss is disappointed and all this stuff? And I was like, so isn't it interesting that the negative part of the situation, the part that you're not enjoying in this experience, is actually those things. It's that fear and that panic and all that stress that comes up, which is actually your response. So it's not actually because of the client and the thing that was out of your control. It is still about your response, So it can be tricky to remember, like, oh yeah, remember, it's all about the way you're feeling, right? So if you can change the way you respond, and I'm not saying you can change the way you feel. Emotions will come up. You can't control what emotions come up, but you can control then what you do with them, how you navigate them, and how you respond to the situation, and what meaning you apply to it. And this happened with me just recently as well, because I wasn't getting a lot of sign-ups in my pole classes the past few weeks, and this always happens when I go away and then my class isn't consistent and it was changing. We were having different instructors and like people want consistency. And so I was feeling like really upset. And so I was getting kind of like a little triggered by it. And I was like, why aren't people wanting to take my class? And I was like feeling bad. And I was like, I know it's not about me. I know it's not about me. I know it's not that I'm a bad teacher. I know it's not that they don't want to take my class. I was still feeling like this trigger, this annoyance. I was feeling upset by it. And I was like, well, I know like it was out of my control. And I was like kind of blaming these things. I was like, well, it was like because the class was changing and it was inconsistent. And I even was slipping into it there. And I was like, well, I know, I did say, I was talking to Cindy, I was like, well, I know I'm partly to blame because I was away and I wasn't consistent with my schedule, but then I was blaming all these other things too. And then it's like, yes, maybe the actual situation was not fully in your control, but what's the part that's upsetting me right now? It's not actually that I wasn't filling up my class, right? It was this feeling of rejection and of like that I failed by not filling my class. That's what was bothering me. And so like once I bring that back into that internal locus of control and I shift that perspective and I realize, actually, no, like this wouldn't bother me if it didn't bother me. You know what I mean? Like this is just a meaningless experience, a neutral experience that I'm applying meaning to and choosing to respond to in a way that, I'm energizing this upsetness in myself. And so once I was able to acknowledge that and then accept how I was feeling and then shift my perspective, transmute the energy, then it doesn't bother me anymore. I can come back into center really. And really that's because I took my control back of the situation. And I remember truly how much control I have. So I feel like those are really good examples because those are situations where it's really easy to kind of not realize where you are actually giving away some of your power and your control and your freedom that you do have over how you feel about a situation. So this concept of leading your own metamorphosis is remembering that this is right from the book, you are in every sense sitting in your own control tower. You can plot your flight through life and you get to decide how far you go and how great you become. And it even ends with, are you ready to test those wings, right? So it's really this question of readiness. And, like I do always say, readiness is a choice. So it's just remembering and acknowledging that maybe you don't feel ready right now, but don't allow that feeling of a lack of readiness, like don't put that on anyone else or on anything else but yourself. And again, not that it's a bad thing for you to not feel ready, right? Own that in an empowered way. Like I said in the reel, I really want this. Yes, I really want this eventually, but I am honestly just not willing to prioritize what I need to prioritize right now in order to get there. And you'll feel like if you literally say that out loud, like, I really want to start this business, but honestly, it's just not enough of a priority to me right now. I don't want it bad enough yet. When you say that, right, you're kind of calling yourself out and you'll feel like, how true is that? Am I making an excuse or am I truly not ready? Because you will feel that in your body when you say that out loud if you are in denial of your truth. if you are making an excuse or if you are truly not ready. Because it will not feel good to own that when it's not your truth, when it's not in alignment. Remember what I said last episode or whenever that was, right? It doesn't feel good to lie. It feels shitty when you lie. So you will feel, okay, am I actually ready? Or am I like calling out my own BS right now? With anything, I really want to, this happens so much. I talk to people so much with like, I want to lose weight. I want to get more fit. I want to this, right? And it's like they act like there is some secret magic thing that they don't know when they see people losing weight and like they can do it. Why can't I? Like, why? Even if you don't know everything, right? There are at least 1, 2, 3 primary things that that you should be prioritizing that you're probably not prioritizing as much as you need to be prioritizing them. And if you're really like, no, actually, I don't know why, I don't know what to do, then that is your first step. Is okay, well, what step do I need to take to acquire this knowledge? Like, do I need to hire someone? Do I need to do some research? And like we so often just shut down right there. Well, I actually don't know what to do. And it's like so many things too, where like this happens all the time. It's like, oh, I don't know. We started starting a business, especially with anything though. Like we will make so many excuses, like the brain loves to overcomplicate. I'll be like, well, I don't know how to start a website. Well, I don't know this. And it's like so many things that we could literally figure out with like a quick Google, right? Or like now we have ChatGPT and like all these AI things, right? Like so easy to actually get the answers and move forward. And it's just that part of us that is trying to just make excuses and trying to stop us from growing and from moving forward because we want to stay safe and what's comfortable and what we know. But most of the time, right, it's not even that. It's not even that we're lacking the knowledge, right? We know, again, it's always so simple. It's always these basic steps. And so it's like, why. Why. If someone's business is growing and your business isn't growing, why. What they're prioritizing that you're not prioritizing. Show me somebody who is making progress towards the same goal that you desire to make progress towards, that you are not making progress towards, and show me what they're prioritizing that you're not prioritizing. There is literally no way that you are both fully prioritizing the same things that are necessary to make progress in this area and not seeing progress. And there's a whole other conversation we could have about progress, like what that means and measuring progress. Because I think a lot of the time, with manifestation and with any working towards a goal, we don't actually stay in the present enough and we overlook a lot of signs of progress because we're just like, but I'm not at that big milestone yet, but I'm not at that big goal yet. And we overlook a lot of the steps along the way. But yeah, basically all I really want you to take from this episode is remember that you are the co-creator of your reality. Like you literally do have the power. And I honestly don't know where this is going to land. Like I feel like I'm going to have people listening all over the spectrum here. This might be mind-blowing to you. Like you may have truly never considered, like, right? Like, oh my God, it is literally just me. Like this might be an epiphany for you. You might be kind of somewhere in the middle. Like, that this is a thing, that you have the power to make these changes and everything is a choice, but you may have kind of like found yourself slipping into this mindset in a certain area and putting blame on something and saying that something is outside of your control when you actually have a lot more control than you're giving yourself credit for. Or maybe you're just like, preach girl, right on. Like, yes, I'm fully embodying this and that's awesome too. And this really is the kind of thing, this is such a breakthrough moment when you have it. And it's the kind of message where if you're not ready to hear it, if you're not ready to receive it, and this is why I keep saying you can't force the readiness, right? Like, if you are not ready to receive this, you will not receive it. You won't get it. It won't resonate. Like it just won't click. You might feel triggered or annoyed. You might just strongly disagree with what I'm saying. But when you're ready, it will click and it will be huge and life-changing. Or you might strongly agree with what I'm saying. It might light a fire in you. At the very least, it's planting a seed. And that's why I put this out there. I feel like I'm just really curious where this is going to land with people because, like, to me now, it feels so obvious, but I literally just gave 2 examples earlier of how, like, even to me and a client, we missed it. So hopefully this just functions as whatever kind of reminder you need it to be right now in this moment. it's just so easy as humans. Like, we're constantly working against this, this urge to just stay the same and stay small and stay in our comfort. And so it's just so natural for this to come up. So I feel like it's just a really important reminder that nothing changes if nothing changes. And so you have to be the leader of your change, of your metamorphosis, and not just have to be, you get to be, right? It's like you are the leader. And what do leaders do? Like, leaders go first. And really, just not even that, but like that literally it will not change if you do not go first, if you do not take that first step, and you have to interrupt the pattern. You have to choose it's going to be different. You have to choose to change how you're going to respond, how you're going to show up. And yet it really is get to. It's not even have to. It's you get to choose. Because how freeing is that? You get to choose that situation that you are not happy in. You get to change it if you choose to. And if this feels triggering for you, as I'm saying this, that is for a reason. It's activating something in you. It's lighting something up in you because there's a part of you that knows this is true, and it might even feel uncomfortable just to face that fact. But could you try on an empowered perspective instead? Whatever that thing is, that goal is, that's on your heart right now, that's on your mind right now, that thing that you've been wanting, that you feel like is not happening, the relationship, the health, the body, the confidence, the business success, the money, the job, whatever that thing is that is not happening, this is really your invitation to be super honest with yourself and be like, how bad do I want this? Is this truly my number one priority right now? If I've learned anything in business, it is that if something is not a priority, it's not happening. Your energy is not going towards it. What I've learned with, clients in sales is like the first thing I want to find out is the transformation I'm going to help you experience your number one priority? Because if it's not their number one priority, they're not going to invest in my coaching. But if it is their number one priority, then there's no question. And so it can be really, really powerful and supportive to just be honest with yourself. Like, what is the goal right now that you are not fully committing yourself to? And ask yourself, well, is this my number one priority? And if it's not, if you can honestly say, no, honestly, it's not my number one top priority. Maybe it's 2 or 3 or 4, but it's not number one. And acknowledging that is so liberating because now you can give yourself permission to stop putting so much pressure on it. Like, okay, I can acknowledge and deprioritize a little bit. And I can now allow myself to put all of my energy towards what is my number one priority. Well, what am I prioritizing over this? Or maybe if you're like, no, on my heart, this really is my top priority. Okay, well then what are you prioritizing in practice over this thing, right? Because clearly a shift needs to happen then so that you're actually putting all of your energy towards this true thing that is really your priority. You are in the driver's seat, basically. So if you're ever catching yourself saying, if only blank, well, if only blank, then this change could happen. Then I could have this thing that I want. And that's also a really effective way of illuminating where the block is. What is the thing that you think you need? And that's the red flag. Because if you catch yourself thinking that whatever you fill in that blank with will actually change your situation, then you've already fallen into the trap. It's like, well, actually, where am I not taking full responsibility for my role in this situation? And if you can fill in the blank of that sentence, then there is something to be illuminated. And there's so much more we can do to uncover the blocks and to work through the fears and to process the emotions and the energy and everything like that to help you get to that place of readiness and to support you through this transition. And that's the thing is like, if you're not in that place of readiness yet, it's because the pattern, the reality of the situation that you're in, that a part of you wants to change, that's still serving you in some way, right? So when you really call yourself out and you allow yourself to acknowledge, no, I actually don't want to let this go yet, then you can acknowledge, like, why aren't you ready to let it go? What are you still getting from this situation? How is this serving you? And once you get there, then that opens you up to so much more, because now you understand why you don't feel ready to let it go. Once we understand what's going on, then we have awareness of what needs to change. And there can be blind spots here, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just the ego. Like, we have blind spots when it comes to these blocks. And those blind spots are what can make it so difficult to really embrace and take on this full responsibility, because we might not be able to see that deeper layer. And like, that's where a coach or an outside perspective comes in and can be so powerful. I always say, like, so much of coaching is literally just holding space and asking the right questions and just literally creating a space where it feels safe to let yourself answer those questions and dig deeper. You know, that's like half of my sessions is I'm just like digging a little bit deeper and digging a little bit deeper. And then, you know, we get to that point where they're like, oh, good question. You know, I never thought, because you have to kind of get past that story that's running to get really to the what's underneath. And so, like, kind of taking a step deeper of like why it's so important to take this radical responsibility and realize, oh, I am in control. I have to lead the way. I make the change. Because then that awareness opens you up to now start to dig deeper. But you have to start there with that remembering. If I can recognize what part is not going to feel safe to me, and that's the reason why I'm not making a change, then I know what I need to change. Oh, now I'm aware that it's serving me to not start this business, because I'm worried that if I actually start the business, then I might be successful. And if I'm successful, then I'm not going to feel like I deserve that, or then other people are going to judge me, right? Or all these things. And that's why it's so important to get to the root of these blocks, so that instead of shaming ourselves, why am I not starting this? Why can't I just commit and just start already and take the first step? Then we know exactly what we need to move through, right? Now I know, oh, well, it's because I feel like I'm not going to get this anymore. You know, I want to stop doom scrolling on my phone. Like, I want to just go to sleep on time. Why am I staying up doing all these things, procrastinating, like doing these pointless tasks, right? Well, what are you getting from that, right? Are you getting a feeling of being in control of your time? What are you getting? If it wasn't serving some part of you, you wouldn't be doing it. So when you can bring awareness to, you know, okay, I know that it's not anyone else's fault or anything else's fault that this is happening. I know that I'm choosing this. Why am I choosing this? Now I know what's in the way. And then the question just really becomes, okay, well, am I going to let this stop me? Right? Now I know. Now I have the awareness. Now I have the choice in front of me. So am I going to let this stop me, right? This thing that I'm getting from this pattern that I want to change, right? Like, the way that this is serving me, is that worth it to me? Is that worth more than what I will gain on the other side of making this change? Coming back to that cost benefit analysis in your brain, right? Is it truly worth it? What is worth more to me? This comfort that I'm getting from the situation, or everything that's on the other side? And being able to actually feel safe and comfortable in that new desired situation. Am I going to let this fear stop me? And this is really a moment. I mean, this concept, this card, this is really just a moment of radical honesty with yourself. Is really what you're being called to. If any of this is resonating with you, it's just a moment of honesty. That's all it is. And it's going back to that metaphor that I gave you guys in that one episode about the rock on the path. I've now acknowledged the rock, right? Instead of just standing here and being like, I want to walk down this path, but there's this rock in my way. You know, just catch an excuse for what it is and identify an excuse for what it is. And this is actually one of the very first videos I posted on my stories. And so I really feel like there must be a lot of people that are on the brink of this transformation right now, of this breakthrough. And I feel a lot with a lot of messages that I give. I sometimes, as I'm sharing the message, I start to be like, is this too obvious? You know, like I feel like I live this so much, but then I remember, like, no, you're reminded of this last week, or really only had this breakthrough a year ago. So I know that this will land with people. I even just said to someone today, I was like, well, yeah, because you're standing in your own way. And she was like, wait, are you saying that I'm the reason why this isn't happening? And I was like, well, yeah. Yeah, of course I am. But yeah, I remember like having this moment where I was like, I really want to go on a walk, man. I really wanted to go on a walk today and I can't go on a walk because it's raining. No, I'm really mad because I want to go on a walk. And I like kept harping on this. And then I was like, oh my God, hold up. Like, these are just excuses. Like, John, if you really want to go for a walk that fucking bad, like put on a raincoat, get an umbrella and go outside for a walk. And that's what I did. And that was like a very aha moment for me. And so I know it comes up in all these sneaky ways. And I know so many of you listening to this know this. I know you know this, but it's still so easy because we always have that ego trying to get in the way. So it can be so easy to just slip into this mindset in different areas. I mean, I even do it. I mean, you really have to stay on top of yourself to never let yourself slip into that mentality in any situation. It's natural to want to blame something outside of yourself, but we don't want that victim mentality. Taking radical responsibility for your life and your circumstances is the first step to radical transformation. So I'm saying this with so much love because it really where that reel came from yesterday was it honestly just hurts my heart to see people who they want something so bad. And I can feel that they really want it. And it's they're tricking themselves, but they feel truly discouraged because of the lack of progress or the lack of commitment. And I really just want you to know, I want every single person listening to really truly know that you have the ability to make these changes. You are in control. So let that encourage and empower you instead of discourage you. If you can acknowledge that you're not ready to make those hard changes, to make those big uncomfortable shifts yet, then that's okay. And you can acknowledge that and have compassion for yourself. Support yourself and hold yourself until you get to the place where you are ready, or even ready to take a baby step. And I really want, it's okay that it's going to be hard, because I feel like there's this element to why we don't want to, take responsibilities, because we feel like it should be easy, or we feel like, we should just be able to do the hard thing and it should be easy for us for some reason. We don't even really always acknowledge, actually, yeah, this is really hard work. It's almost like this thing of we feel like we need to hold ourselves to this super high standard, and we need to kind of be not kind of let it be as big of a deal as it is. And it's okay to be this is really fucking hard. Actually, I have to really commit and really do some uncomfortable shit in order to accomplish this. Damn, yeah, no wonder I'm putting it off so much. Damn, that is really going to feel uncomfortable. That's going to be a lot of hard work. It's okay to acknowledge that, and to acknowledge that the path might not be easy all the time, and it's not going to feel safe and comfortable. That was another thing with this card, was talking about the metamorphosis and being in the safety of your cocoon and playing small. And so it's yeah, acknowledging I have to really go outside of my comfort zone for this. It's not going to be comfortable. If it felt safe and comfortable, then it wouldn't lead to any change. So it's okay to acknowledge that these are hard, difficult changes to make. And it's empowering to own that and be yeah, you know what? You're right. I know exactly what I have to do. I'm just not fully committing to it. And acknowledge your efforts. It doesn't mean that it's a conscious decision. That's what the point of this episode is, right? Or being okay, is this conscious or not? And then if you make it a conscious decision, if you're you know what, you're right. And now that I'm conscious of it, I have the choice whether I want to continue this or not. And if you choose to continue it, then there's nothing wrong with that, because now your intentions are in alignment with your actions. Before, we felt there was a disconnect, right? Of well, my intention is this, but my actions aren't aligning, and that creates frustration. But once we can acknowledge our choice, then everything's aligned because we're making an empowered choice. You know what I mean? So if you're in that place, that's what I hope you can take away from this. And how can you really just hold yourself and support yourself and have love and compassion for yourself, no matter what place you're in, and acknowledge that you are always doing the best you can in every moment. So I hope that that's coming through. I don't want this to come across like you could choose to be doing it and you're just not, right? Because truly you are doing the best you can in every moment. It is a choice, but if you're not choosing it yet, there's a lesson that still needs to be learned and integrated. It's really as simple as that. And that acceptance, that self-love and self-compassion is truly the magic to that shift. If you can accept where you're at, accept the choice, accept that you may not feel ready yet, accept whatever place you're in, that's when everything suddenly aligns. Because there's no resistance anymore. There's no frustration anymore. There just is. On that note, if you do truly feel that you are ready in your heart, in your bones, I am ready to commit to this, then acknowledge that and own that too. And remember that you get to lead your metamorphosis. You don't have to wait for anything else to change around you for you to change. And actually, it doesn't work that way. The change always starts from within. I talked about this on our Hot Girl CEO Daily Dose today as well. We talked about an identity embodiment. And I just heard this the other day. I can't take credit, but it said, as long as you're waiting, you're not creating. As long as you're waiting, you are not creating. So if you want to create, you have to start creating. You have to lead that change. Be the leader of your own metamorphosis. So what is the first step towards a better you? What is the first step towards this vision becoming a reality? What is the tiniest little baby step that you can take to lead yourself along this path, to lead this metamorphosis, and to allow this evolution and transformation to take place? And the last thing that I really want to remind each and every one of you listening on this note is to remember that you are so supported to take these steps. You are so supported in this transformation, and you are so safe to follow your intuition and to make this change. I always say your desire is your permission. Your desire is your permission. And that means this desire is on your heart for a reason. You have this goal for a reason. So really connect back to your heart, to this desire for this change, and trust that yes, it may feel scary, it may be difficult, but remember that you are so supported and safe in following this path. That's so important to remember. And yes, sometimes you just need a loving little kick in the booty. And that's basically what this episode was. I don't honestly even know what I just spent the last 25 minutes saying, so I hope that something powerful came through. I also just realized that I didn't even put my video recording on for this episode, so there will be no video trailer for this week's podcast episode. But yeah, no matter where you're at, like if you're already feeling very empowered and ready to take control of your life, hopefully this was just a reiteration and a confirmation and a validation of those feelings. And I hope you feel even more empowered. And if you were in a place or you are in a place and you're catching yourself like, oh man, I am just not fully taking responsibility and accountability for this, then I hope this helped you realize why, or kind of get clarity on what you're prioritizing, what you want to prioritize. And if you're still feeling blocked or confused at all, reach out to me. We could schedule a session and really help you break through those blocks and get some clarity on what is holding you back and help you really move through that. I just had a session with a client today. It was so magical. And she literally at the end of the session, she was like, I feel like a whole new person. I have literally never felt this way ever in my life. So if that gives you a clue into the kind of magic we could tap into in these sessions, if you feel like you are ready to lead your metamorphosis, and you want guidance and support on that first step, I'm here for you, baby. All right. I hope that this episode spoke to you. Love to hear your thoughts. Send me a DM, share with a friend. If it felt powerful and you feel like this message, you want to spread it to more people, screenshot, share it on social media, tag me, give it a rate and a review. Means the world to me. I love you guys so much. We're going to have a lot of fun episodes coming up. And yeah, as always, if you have any requests or things you want to hear about, please, please, please reach out to me because it makes me just that much. I feel so much more excited to record something that I know is really directly, like helping. I know they're all helping you, but that I know is really like speaking directly to a question that's on someone's heart or, something that feels really relevant to you. So that said, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to stop, take a deep breath, and smile. Have a great rest of your day or night. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.